Hello and welcome to Math Lessons with Linda. Today's topic is a continuation of conic sections with circles, and today we're going to work on how to complete the square and get our equation into the correct form for a circle to figure out the center and the radius and sketch a graph. So this is what another form of a circle would look like. X squared plus y squared minus 4x plus 2y plus 1 equals 0. And you may be wondering, how in the world do I know that this is an equation for a circle? There are two things that I would look for. The first thing is, in a circle, both the x and the y should have a squared term in your equation. And for the x and the y squared, the coefficients for those should be the same. In this case, they're both 1, which is very easy. And I'm going to now take this equation and transform it by completing the square and getting it into the correct form so I can pick out the center and the radius. So to complete the square, the first thing I need to do is I'm going to put the x terms together, so my x squared, and then I'm going to put my minus 4x term next to it. And then to complete the square, I need to leave a blank here for the number that I need to figure out what it is that completes the square for the x's. I'm going to do the same thing for my y terms. I'm going to have y squared plus 2y. I'm going to have a blank here. I need to have another value for the y. And then I need to move this -1 over to the other side of my equation. Now, I'm going to be adding numbers into these blanks, and to keep my equation balanced, I'm going to have to also add whatever those values are onto this side of my equation. So if I've got 2 blanks over here, I should have 2 blanks over here, and these numbers should be the same thing. Now, to complete the square, I'm going to take my x term, and I'm going to take the coefficient, which is 4. I'm going to take half of 4, so 4 divided by 2, and then I'm going to square that number. That's the completing the square. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. So the value that completes the square here is 4. I'm going to do the same procedure for the y. I'm going to take the coefficient here, divide it by 2, and then square it. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 squared is 1. So that value goes in this blank. Now, over here, I have to put a 4 in, and I have to put a 1 in to balance it out. Now, for a circle, remember that we had like an x minus h and a y minus k? That's what these are going to turn into. So I'm going to start with my x squared minus 4x plus 4. To get that into a binomial squared, I'm going to take the square root of my squared term, which is just x. I'm going to take the square root of this constant I just found, which is going to be 2. And the sign that goes in the middle is the sign that's in my middle term right here, so that's a minus. And then I square it. So x minus 2 squared is the same thing as x squared minus 4x plus 4. Okay, now plus, I'm going to do the same thing for my y's. The square root of y squared is y. The square root of 1 is 1. And the sign on my middle term is positive, so I'm going to make that a plus also. And I'm going to square this. I have completed the square, and I can tell that this is taking the same form of one of the general forms of a circle. Now, over here, I have a -1 and a +1. Those cancel to 0, and I just have a 4 left. So now, this is the general form that I have for a circle. And I'm going to pick out my center. Remember that the negative stays as part of the formula. So this x value, my h, is 2. Now, when I see a positive, what that tells me is this is really saying like y minus a -1, because subtracting a negative is how this turned positive. So if I want the minus to stay in my formula, I have to really take a -1 out. So the way I remember it is I take the opposite of what this looks like. If it looks like a -2, it should be a +2. If it looks like a +1, it should be a -1. So here is my center at 2, -1. To get my radius, I take the square root of this value 4, which is 2. So if I want to sketch my circle, I'm going to graph my center at 2, -1. So right here, I can put a little C for center. And then I'm going to go 2 spaces out for each of these. So I'm going to go 2 over, 2 up, 2 left, and 2 down. And then I'm going to just put my circle here, try to get it nice. You can fill it in once you've kind of dotted it. So this is how I can complete the square for an equation to get to a circle, to find my center, my radius, and sketch a graph.